Cutters, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinions.
Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another Cutter, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinion. So I'm a sixth of the way through trying to get to 1,000 unpopular Degrassi opinions. I doubt I'll get to the 1,000 mark. It's just that at 166 times 6, that's 996. I just wanted to be a numbers cheeky bastard. So anyway, this unpopular opinion is number 167. Now, I did say in a previous CDUO that I would be stopping unpopular opinions based on one Raditch. But someone made a post, not me. This person named Prince Rub 10. Well, Prince underscore Rub 10, I should say. Saying, okay, Mr. Raditch, you make a good point. This is what he said, or she. So this was done 9 days ago, and for context, this is being taped on September 22nd, 2022. Here we go. It says, so I'm seeing this deleted scene where Alex and Marco are like, Mr. Raditch, why is Rick allowed on school grounds? He beat up his girlfriend and put her in a coma. And Alex says, Rick's smart, but he's a danger to women. And he replies he needs to be charged. But where is Mr. Raditch technically in the wrong for allowing Rick back? As he said, there needs to be charges pressed against someone for them not to return to school and be seen as a danger. And the majority of Rick's abuse of Terry was off campus, and unless they have video camera evidence of that, whether they like it or not, Rick's there to stay. So why does poor old Raditch get hate for allowing someone to come back when requirements for them to be exiled from said school are not met? So this was a pretty hot topic issue within the Degrassi Reddit the past week and a bit. So normally I just go with, well, I'm going to give you context on everything and all that. But I'm going to get through the people's comments first, and then I do my context and then my thoughts on this. One person said, no, a student almost died because of his abuse. This is a teen drama, so it's not realistic. In any normal world, Rick would have been charged and never allowed on school grounds. He emotionally and mentally abused her at school several times. He deserved everything he got. And someone said, well, Degrassi does intend to get realistic, though. Whether they choose that, I don't know. But to say it was a teen drama, so it's not realistic, negates the fact they made an effort at trying to be compared to something else. And the OP said that when Alex said he's a danger, that's completely hypocritical because she bullied and fought other girls. She even hit a girl in one episode. Yet she's supposed to be better than Rick? Totally hypocritical. That makes sense, a little sense. Purple Dove said, why is it ever explained why Rick was charged? At the very least, he should have been charged with assault. And the OP says, accusing someone of abuse is a very serious accusation. There needs to be proof and at least some witnesses. Unless Rick confessed to the crime, he couldn't be charged with assault. Raditch can't let people back in school just because of what people said is fact. We know he's an abuser. Raditch doesn't. But Purple Doves did say there were witnesses, though. Was it Paige who came looking for Terry after she and Rick had been gone a while? She saw Terry on the ground with Rick standing over her with blood on his hands. I suppose Rick could say she tripped and hit her head accidentally. But then, there's a pattern of abuse. They could have easily had Jimmy and Hazel testify because they knew about the prior abuse. Given that Terry was in a coma, it just seems like something the police should have pursued. If Rick had been locked up, there are a lot of things changes. Rick lives, Jimmy never gets paralyzed, and Emma probably doesn't get social disease. Emergency Elephant said that, I don't know if it was technically within Raditch's ability to prevent Rick from returning. The incident happened off school grounds, and it's not in a situation where the school was responsible, so it's realistic that it wasn't against school rules, and it wasn't anything Raditch could have prevented. He doesn't control the criminal court system, so he could affect if Rick went to prison. And then someone said, you have to keep in mind the outcome of not having an assembly. I don't think formally drawing the entire student's attention on one student's warning would be accepted. What was he supposed to say? Oh, that's in my case. I said that not having an assembly. And Snowflake said, keeping in mind the outcome of not having an assembly. You can't formally draw the entire student's attention on one student's warning would be accepted. What was he supposed to say to the entire student body exactly? And Emma started this whole crusade. And I said he would have had to explain himself at said assembly, the process of why Rick's back and what is expected of the student body. But if Rick was on a short leash, he would explain it to everyone. Yeah. So that one comment got -2 points. Someone said, why didn't Raj have Rick transferred to another school? Lakehurst, perhaps. Aloha Reddit said, I would have loved to see the clip, but it doesn't change my stance either way. Without any actual evidence, it's he said, she said. There's no conviction, no court case. As far as Raj knows, it could have been an accident. Even if Terry awoke and told Raj herself, it's now he said, she said. They're both teenagers who are going to have a messy relationship. Where Raditch messed up is not forcing Rick to stay home. It's been a decent bit since I watched this. Raditch drops the ball after the trivia contest. Rick also drops the ball by going back to Degrassi. He was stubborn and wanted to go back. Yeah, and one good rip says, you're right. There's no legal reason Raditch would have for preventing Rick on school grounds. Raditch can't press charges against Rick for shoving someone off campus at a non-school gathering. And even if it was on campus, I don't think Raditch would have been able to press charges unless Rick got to him. Exactly. So, yeah, they're saying a whole lot of things. Well, what I said was, if Rick chose not to come back, then this isn't discussed and Raj gets off with no problems. But Raj was in the wrong for not addressing the issue with the student body. It seemed that he was not caring about their feelings. An assembly or a message on the video system would have been a good way to calm down your student body, but he didn't. And not to mention that he told Ella to butt out because he was tired of her stupid crusades. All that. I bet the students took the Orange Ribbon campaign as a protest to Raditch's carelessness and inability to help them out. They wanted to do either mount justice or take justice in their own hands, however you want to say it. So that's just how it gets written up. So my thoughts on this is, yes, the biggest crime is that being a deleted scene in the first place when Raj tells Alex and Marco, who are part of student council, that Terry's not at Degrassi, so I can't get in her affairs. And to my knowledge, he hasn't been criminally charged. And said that unless a student gets charged, he or she will study at my school, like it or not. And, that's true. He's correct. Because, Rick never got the criminal charge. And, of course, I went through an unpopular opinion why Rick wasn't even charged was because maybe Terry's state of affairs with the coma and all that. And, Rick's parents probably would have gotten a good lawyer to get Rick out of trouble. So, yeah, that being a deleted scene is terrible. It actually makes Raj more of a dickwad than he is. Because, without the deleted scene, we wouldn't get into Raj's mindset. The mindset of people watching the whole Rick Murray situation, take away the deleted scenes, is that Raj doesn't really care about the students. And he's protecting Rick. But then in time stand still, he leaves Rick to his own devices and then Snake snaps at him. And Raj botched it. But Rick botched it too. He wasn't clear with what he wanted from Raditch. If Rick was more clear, the worst that would have happened was Raj saying that if it happens one more time, come see with evidence. Instead of giving him the whole, you can't force people to make friends with you. Raj is right with that situation, but how Rick approached it was incorrect and inconceivable. I get it. The fact of the matter is that Raj was in the wrong, in a way. Because the problem was, Raj didn't seem to protect his students from Rick coming back to school. Yeah, Rick could have transferred to Lakers. He could have done all that. Even his mother wanted him to transfer, but Rick said that he wanted to go through the Lions Den. and knew that he had to gut it out, which he didn't do perfectly. Simply put, Raditch, by not being clear to the students about Rick's thing, not even saying to any students, even if he confronted Emma or Paige and said, this is what's happening, he's back at the school without criminal charges because no one pressed charges on him, then it would have been understandable. At least Raditch would have understood it, and maybe Raditch could be less of a villain. I know he's more of a villain for the aftermath, especially with the fact that he was probably ducking the Murrays and the questions, probably ducking Snake, ducking accountability, and possibly canceling Dracula because he figured that it would make. Well, Degrassi is in the news for all the wrong reasons, so he's trying to make himself look good. But then Raditch should have went back to his memory bank and said, "Wait a minute. I had the situation with the Claude Tanner suicide. We put the show on, but we made it benefit for suicidal teens. If Raj had done something similar to that, if he had remembered in his memory bank, then he could have said, well, we got to have the best of both worlds. Raj thinking that, okay, Dracula's bad because of Rick's death, but there's some good in all that. He basically, tore Liberty and JT a new one for undermining his authority by writing the Raditchs song. And then, of course, they would get the last laugh as he got reassigned. He didn't get fired. He probably got fired, but I think the reassignment would have made sense because the school board did kind of feel under pressure. I feel the school board would have been in deep trouble because, they told Raditch to allow Rick back at the school and kind of forced Raditch's hand. If that was true, then Raditch would have had a case to get on the school board's nerves. He probably wouldn't get his principal stuff back because Degrassi wouldn't want him. Snake wouldn't want him back. But the simple fact is, yeah, Raditch screwed up. And this guy said that, Raditch said all this stuff about why Rick was not back at the school. The only issue is it was a deleted scene that would have made Raditch in a better mood and would make me think, got to protect this guy more. But when I look at this and the situation and why Rick was allowed back at the school, Rick didn't have a criminal charge. But that doesn't mean you cannot kick him out. You can. You just tell him, look, Degrassi doesn't want you. It's better for you to lay low for at least 1 or 2 years. Go to Lakehurst. He could have said that. Raditch could have easily said, no way, I'm shutting the door on it. You're not coming in. But no, he allowed him back. I think Raditch figured he had no choice. But then again, Raditch didn't anticipate the students getting on Rick's nerves with them bullying Rick, thanks to the Orange Ribbon campaign. And he didn't foresee Rick getting so embarrassed he decides to bring a gun to the school to shoot Paige, which he never does. Because Paige calms him down enough that he puts the gun in his locker, and then after Jay and Spinner trick Rick into believing that Jimmy was the culprit, he basically took the gun and shot Jimmy, and then would have shot Emma if it wasn't for Sean's intervention. A lot of people say, well, Simpson's way for Raditch and all that. Simpson wanted Raditch to take accountability. I think that was just what Simpson wanted. He wanted Raditch to admit his faults to either the school board or the staff in the first place. It seemed that the staff were not pleased with Raditch's ducking and all that. I know it's not the euphemism that you replace the D with the F in ducking. It's just the way the word is. Screw it. So when I look at this, it's like, yeah, people are villainizing Raditch for everything. Because Raditch could have stopped it at the first hurdle and told Rick not to come back to Degrassi. That would have avoided things. But I wonder how many people would have had the character developments if it weren't for the simple fact that, Rick came back. It got Paige in a negative way that Paige drew towards Mr. Olander after Spinner's problems with her. Emma probably would have been a very judgmental person still, based on her first few seasons. Yeah. Jimmy probably would have been walking, but, Aubrey Graham would have walked out of Degrassi, and they would have had to find a way to get Jimmy out of Degrassi in the way. But Drake was on Degrassi till season 7. So yeah. Yeah. It's not completely fair to blame Raditch for everything. I mean, this Orange Ribbon campaign did have a bad taste in its mouth because of the bullying Rick endured. But then again, part of the Orange Ribbon campaign possibly was because Raditch refused to let things slide, and he told Emma, "I don't want your stupid crusades because they undermine him." Are you nuts? That's just going to trigger Emma to do it against your back. And I bet you Raj was pissed off with the Orange Ribbon campaign and wanted to hurt Emma in such a way. But he knew that, it was not against school rules. And if Simpson found out, then Simpson would have had a gasket to blow. And Raj figures that Simpson is his only ally. I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah, you've heard me yammering on and on about this whole situation with Raditch and all that. This guy makes a good point that Raditch is unfairly villainized. But the fact of the matter is, Raditch is villainized because he could have stopped it at the first hurdle, and we wouldn't have to worry about Rick coming into the school with a gun in the first place. The writers wanted to make a Columbine story and figured that Rick would be the perfect guy to set it off and all that. And like the guys at Columbine, the gunman died. But not because of a fast thinking Sean. It was just because of them killing themselves. Rick didn't kill himself. And you got to realize that, especially with the fact the aftermath would not have been so messy. Raj probably might have stayed around Degrassi for at least 1 or 2 more seasons. And he wouldn't be forced out in the middle of the season. It wouldn't be the first time. I mean, it wouldn't be the last time a Degrassi principal was taken out midway through a season. But that's just the way I feel. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Next